The distinction between the Jiva and the Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord Kshetranya consciousness as his living being, but the living being is also consciousness of his particular body, whereas the Lord is consciousness of all bodies, because he lives in the heart of every living being, is conscious of the psychic movements of a particular Jiva. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is giving direction for the living entity to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the acts and reaction of own karma. After giving up one type of body, he returns another type of body. As we put on and take off clothes, as the soul thus migrates, he suffers the action and reaction of his past activity. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goddesses, insanity, and understand what sorts of activity he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reaction of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we say that of the five items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and Karma, four are eternal, whereas Karma is not eternal. The Supreme Consciousness, Ishvara, is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the consciousnesses of the Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not that consciousness is generated by the association of matter, that is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness may be perfectly reflected by the covering of material circumstance, just as light reflected through color glass may appear to be certain color, but the consciousness of Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Madhyakshena Praktiha. When he descended into the material universes, he consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from material contaminated consciousness, so that Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our actions will be devoted to the will of Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities, rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appears to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. An ignorant person may see that the devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know the activities of devotee or the Lord and not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the three modes of nature. We should know, however, that at the point of consciousness is contaminated. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am not a product of material nature. This is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of a bodily conception cannot understand his situation. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life, and Arjuna put himself in the position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life that is primarily activity for the transcendentalist. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. Mukti or liberation means freedom from material consciousness. In this Srimad Bhagavad Gita, also the definition of liberation is given. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of the material world and situation in pure consciousness. All the instructions of Bhagavad Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness, and therefore we find at the last stage of Gita's instruction, the Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instruction of the Lord. This is the whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are part and parcel of the law. But for us, there is an affinity of being affected by the inferior modes. But the Lord, being the supreme, is never affected. That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the conditioned soul.